Friends, I know, you probably saw the thumbnail and said, she's gone out of her mind. Who am I buying Chanel eyeshadow, which I haven't in a long time? And if it's your first time here, hi, I'm Alicia. I love to review beauty. I'm a lifestyle coach. I do all sorts of things, but sometimes I simp for Chanel eyeshadow. Again, as I mentioned, that I haven't purchased in quite some time, and what I'm referring to is their recent holiday fall or fall holiday. Is this fall holiday 2025? The Les Ombres Boutouns. 4 limited edition color quads, collector quads, embossed with Chanel button motifs like the camellias, the number 5, the galaxy symbols, is a nod to the house's couture buttons in fashion that we've seen over the years. Quite expensive. Retails for $86. I knew what I was getting myself into, okay? I purchased Chanel before. I'm familiar with the price point. I don't know what it was about this particular release that enamored me so, but it probably was due to the influence of a few subscribers who also mentioned they bought these quads and how they described it and the colors and such. I'm like, well, I need to look into this, okay? So I decided to visit a standalone makeup and fragrance Chanel store, because in New York you have the beauty and fragrance, but you also have the stores that not only sell beauty and fragrance, but the pocketbooks and the fashion. And those stores have lines, but just the solo beauty fragrance stores are not as crowded. So that's why I visited that location, and they had 2 of the ones that I had my eye on. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at the swatches. I'll demo both, but I just want to set the context here. I'm not a Chanel eyeshadow expert, and I just want to mention that because if you're watching this video expecting comparisons to formulas from before, throughout the years that Chanel has been out in the beauty space, then I'm unable to provide you that insight. I would recommend that you visit other luxury beauty channels that have been doing this for years and have been reviewing Chanel shadow for years. They will definitely have better insight of those comparisons. I'm just coming at this as a fan that wanted these particular quads, and sure, I'll make comments about the formulas that I experience now and what I remember from using Chanel shadows long ago. I do recognize that the small baked pans have like that satin quality about them, but the Chanel rep actually had mentioned to me that this particular release, this formula, has a little more punch than typically formulated Chanel eyeshadow. So I thought that was a lot of fun to find out. Well, which ones did I buy? Well, I initially had my eye on the 219 Bouton Couture, which was like the rosy browns and the more neutral colorway out of the 4, and you can see, well, because I used it, but I'll make sure to show footage of a fresh opening of the palette just so you can see the button motifs better in the pans. You can see they are baked, and each pan sports a different button design, and I think it's absolutely adorable. You're like looking at this, seeing how small it is, and you remember the price. This is Chanel. It is a luxury beauty brand, and these are the expectations, right? So if you're not familiar with these price points, if you're not familiar with Chanel, yes, it can be quite shocking. Not as shocking as the Louis Vuitton beauty prices that I found out that a lipstick case is $165. Listen, fam, I'm going on a slight tangent, forgive me. I might bring my phone to the store and maybe grab footage of me in store with swatching, but I don't think it's not in the budget. I don't have it in the budget to drop on Louis Vuitton Beauty right now. Not quite enough for Chanel either, but I finagled. And each sleeve has a exclusive embroidered design for the palette as well, so they're each different. This is from 219, and the second one that I purchased was 239 Bouton Baroque. Now, I checked to see if it was Baroque or Baroque. I thought it was Baroque, but in French, is it, if spelled in this way, pronounced Baroque? Please let me know, and I'm so sorry in advance. This quad had the purple. Now, what struck me, and you'll see this in the swatches, this purple has great sparkle factor, and I was quite pleased with that effect. And with the accompanying shades, I thought they'll be lovely as like accent moments. And out of the 4, in my opinion, because you have the one with like the taupe and the pink coral shades, and the Stellaire, Bouton Stellaire 229 with that icy blue, that was lovely as well, but I didn't think it worth the 86 just for my skin tone, because that taupe shade is quite light, and I will only use the 3 instead of these. I can use all 4 shades successfully from each. But some quick details, you again know the price already, but these quads have an 18-month suggested shelf life. Not bad for Luxe Beauty, I appreciate that. And these palettes are made in Italy. Now with the swatches, okay. I don't know how each shade is described. All I'm going is by my own feel, but you can see just how beautiful this like bronzy copper brown is. This is satin shade, but the tone, you're not ready, but when I apply this all over the eye, it just had a beautiful haze effect that was immediate and easy to achieve at the same time, because this texture is easy to pick up with a brush, and not to disrupt the swatches so much, but the blend abilities is crazy. But the color though, with Oud, if you're wondering what I have on, you can head over to my DIOR video that I just filmed going through what I bought and what I have on the face, because I applied everything. You'll have a ball. This shade is the weakest link out of the 4. It's like a soft, warm beige that I could use all over the lid and just have a one and done moment. I can probably use that copper brown shade to cut across the lash line for a little more depth of color. This is like a purpley brown. It's beautiful. Look at it. There's just something about it. There's like a mystery about it. Again, can be placed all over the lid or paired with any of these 2. And lastly, this taupe, which is hard to see, but this one has the tweed motif. I think it's so clever that they managed to put that design there. This one has the most shine and sparkle out of the 4, and one of my favorites. This is like a beautiful mauve taupe. And again, you might not think these finishes outrageously sparkly, right? So you're like, I have more sparkly. I know, we know. Again, this is about the brand's aesthetic, okay? And for them, in my opinion, this is a lot, right? And there might have been quads in the past that showcase more sparkle, so you could let me know down below. But now moving on to 239. In my opinion, this purple right here, I was surprised at the amount of twinkle it has. Now, you might not be able to see it because of the lighting, but allow me to we gotta get the flashlight so you understand, okay? And I'm not sounding crazy. Do you see now the pearl finish on that purple like magenta? You could even see it on the shades from 219. But this purple, and I plan on posting the short I filmed with these palettes that I made sure to get close-up shots of for the motifs that didn't already have my finger swatching on them already, so they look fresh in the sun. Whoa, that's all I gotta say. Next we have this gold, which surprised me. Initially you might just think regular gold, but it actually has like a zesty element to it. It reminds me like a limoncello shade. It has a citrus feel. It's not super yellow gold. It probably looks more champagne gold on my skin tone, but I think it beautiful all over the lid, inner corner, just different regions of the eye that this shade can provide a lovely highlight effect on. And next we have what appears to be more of like a soft rose gold on the lid, can also be applied on the inner corner. Slight weight, right? Slight weight. And lastly, and I love the motif here for this shadow, this is a warmer rose for sure, can be applied all over the lid, and can also be paired with that softer pink. Yeah, so this is great to apply for that all over smoke, paired with the softer pink, or even with the light gold, or even with that orchid shade. You might not be impressed by the swatches, but just wait until I apply these shades on the eyes, because what I've been gravitating towards is just simpler palettes to work with that provide impeccable looks in a matter of minutes, where I can just rely on 1 or 2 shades to create that effect, that haze, that sophistication. It's a characteristic that's hard to describe, but something that luxury beauty provides with their color choices and their finishes. I can explain, but allow me to pull you in a little closer for these demos so you could find out what I'm trying to talk about. For primer, I'm going in with the Suku Eye Primer, which is fine. I want to go back to the MAC Paint Pot. I think that formula provides coverage and evening of tone, which I feel like I need some time so that the redness and discoloration from my lids don't interfere with the shadow coloring from palettes that I use. Okay, so let me first go in with the low performing shade, just so you can see what it does on the lid, right? It's not going to be in your face. Friends, sorry to interrupt myself, but you probably noticed I have a new outfit on, new lighting situation, because as I was attempting to edit the clip on the plane, just trying to get ahead of the game and getting this video out, Final Cut decided to not recognize my footage. Even though it was clearly on the hard drive, it basically told me I don't know her. So we're going to refilm this demo using 219, and I didn't want to skip it because I wanted to show you how I've been applying these shadows, and actually something I did over my trip that I didn't demo in the original footage. So this is going to be fun. I did prep my lids with the Suku Eye primer, and I think it's okay for the Chanel shadows. It has nice grip because these textures, as you saw from the swatches before, are quite creamy. So they lay down nicely and they have a satin finish. And in terms of the brush, I think for this part, I'm gonna grab another brush that I used from what I used before. I'm grabbing my Jumbo Blender, which is a dyed Tuckahoe goat hair brush from our friend Sonia G. And first starting with this warm beige shade that for sure is the weakest link out of the quad. On someone like my skin tone, it will simply provide just a soft sheen of color. It's basically my lid with that satin effect. But what I did on the trip, and what you could also do if you happen to have the same product, is apply the Giorgio Armani eye tint in Sandalwood. I applied this first all over the lid and then followed up with some of the shadows here. And you saw a warmer beige base on the center that was matte, and I thought it paired nicely with the satin finishes in 219. But continuing with what I did on the original demo, I'm now taking this copper rose brown, and the Jumbo Blender is quite large for what I want to show first. And what I did in the original demo, let me grab my Bobo and Chico Hodo T-Squirrel brush from the Nebula collection. It's thinner than the Jumbo Blender because I primarily worked it across the lash line in a diffused fashion, and then I carried more color here on the outer V to create a more smoked out effect. And I just adore this shade for its constant delivery of like that sultry hazy look without appearing too smoky on the eyes. So you can decide to use this shade, and I'm just switching to a more diffuser like brush. I guess I'll use the Kolinsky one, where you can use the beige shade to create that contrast, so you have that lighter neutral on the lid and have a little more of that coloring for your outer V. Or you can just cover the entire lid with the shade, which is what I'll show you after part one. And placing this coppery brown here on the outer lower third. So you see how that's like an immediate, I love simple looks like this. I know it's nothing groundbreaking, but what it offers is just that security and knowing that I'm gonna have a solid smoky eye without the frills and the bandwidth required to just be here all day blending, you know what I mean? My personal favorite way, however, to wear this coppery mahogany shade is, now returning to the Jumbo Blender, is to cover the entire lid with it. And again, I just love how that looks. It gives me that instant haze without the hassle. I love fast delivered haze, okay? You could use the same brush if you have the Jumbo Blender to apply the shadow on the lid, but I like to switch to a more of a blender type to diffuse the edges. So that's what you see here. And there's not a lot of reflectivity or shine. It's again a satin shade that has more of a natural finish. If you insist on applying shine or adding dimension, you can probably return to the beige and then add a little bit on the center of the lid. Now, it's not going to have reflectivity as if you were to go in, and what I also brought along on my trip, the Danessa Color Fix Sticks. Specifically, this is the foil side in Duo 4 Artemis. This has a lot more shine, but you can tap this on the lid on the Chanel shadows if you wanted that to sparkle, right? So this is why I like to just include different options, because it's not just about using one makeup item, but integrating what you have in your collection, especially if you wish to achieve certain effects in this scenario for your eye look. And the same thing with the inner corner, right? I'm just going in with the beige shade, but you can dip out. Maybe you have a dedicated powder highlighter that you brought along, or you just have nearby, and you could use that instead to punch on the inner corner for more reflectivity there. Now the second eye, I want to start off with just this beautiful taupe, and it is the most sparkly out of the four. 239 in my opinion has more sparkle across all four shades, but this has a little more of a twinkle effect. And returning to my Jumbo blender and placing that shade all over the lid, which can also serve 100% as a one and done moment. So this is going to have more of like a mauve taupe effect on the coloring, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. I probably had set this in the original footage that you could match this, I think so, match this up with taupe foume, or I'm going to say it in a minute. That was one of the Chanel crayons that released in their spring collection, and it is just heavenly. I could only imagine this shade with that pencil, okay? And look at that, it's already just is given demure, okay? Demure taupe mauve all the way. So I'm running that through the crease and pulling it just slightly beyond the outer corner point, and following up with that same shadow now on the lower lash line. For my cheeks, of course, I had to apply Dior's Oud in the Forever Blush Soft Filter, but if you wanted to steer the overall look to be more like this wheelhouse, this is kind of like giving Viseart Lilas, in my opinion, in terms of the color story. I would probably go in with the more mauve blush, maybe peony if I wanted to stick to the Forever Blush Soft Filter product. But this, again, is an interesting color story because you have both the warm and the cool, but there's just something about this shade in particular that's mwah. And now the dark brown, which out of all four quads, the darkest shade out of the entire limited edition collection. I'm just softly punching that on outer lid and lightly whisking it so the shadow doesn't get away from me and I'm still in control of the blend. I would only imagine how beautiful this will also look all over lid, crease, and lower lash line if you really wanted to smoke it out. But I just think that's a lovely gradient. And the textures, because they're like a big satin finish, I feel fairly easy to blend, to pick up, not only to blend, but to pick up on the brush. And I think they have a lovely smooth quality to them that makes it simple to blend on the skin and it not accentuate texture. And just as we did with eye number one, I'm taking the same beige shade on the inner corner. And as I had mentioned before, if you wanted to follow up with a more reflective highlight, you could dip out and use another shade. I applied D-Dream, but I'm thinking I should go in, and this is what I did in the original demo. I applied Bold Black. Bold Black, or YSL's Love Shine lipstick in Scenic Brown. Let's do Scenic Brown because you'll see the close-up shots me wearing Bold Black. So just to mix it up, let me throw this on quickly. Here are the close-ups from our first round using 219, and I am pleased with the results. You saw that I actually threw on Bold Black because I thought it will pull the look together aesthetically in terms of the color choices on the eyes. But my goodness, this is what I was speaking about. The sultriness, the sophistication, but the ease of application is what I'm completely enchanted by. And I understand these quads are expensive and you don't have to spend this amount of money to achieve what you see here. It's more so the experience. And the fact that I haven't worn Chanel shadows in quite some time, it's nice to visit. You know what I'm saying? Let's continue on the Chanel Brigade with 239 with that sparkly purple. I'll see you back here in a minute. Fresh lids for the next demo and going into 239, yes? And this palette sports more sparkly finishes than 219. 219 definitely is more of a subdued moment, but I want to demonstrate one of my most favorite ways to use this palette, and is to go directly into the purple and just rely on it as like that fast delivering accent moment for the inner corner. And then following up quickly with the gold all over the lid, matching, or rather blending in with that purple shade and working that yellow into the crease. And yes, I could have used a smaller brush, but I just wanted to show how lovely this purple is on the inner corner and how you can use it not as a highlight effect because maybe the color a little too rich. I'm gonna move in a little bit. Yes, lighting, here we go. For like a standout highlight effect, like what the gold is giving, but ooh, you see that? Okay. And quickly on the other side, this is what I'm saying. This is how fast we're rolling, all right? Using my same brush, and this is the Yoshiki from the Koyudo line, the from Master Yoshiki's collab with Bobo. It's a Tuckahoe goat hair brush, but the body is quite large and the tip is flexible. So you can place the majority of the color here on the lid and then take the tip of the brush to run that shadow through the crease to leave behind a more diffused finish. And this is a beautiful warm rose shade that I had said while swatching can be worn all over the lid just as the one and done. And it doesn't have the same smoke delivery as we see from 219, but I think a great daily shade to have that bit of color but it not overwhelm the entire face. Following up with a stiffer brush just so I could pick up ample product and place it here under the lash line. And now with the light rose on the inner corner. And again, I had said this I feel pairs beautifully with that warmer rose shade that we placed all over the lid. And following up with my eyeshadow brush that I used in the first demo, I want to pick up more of that first shadow and place just some more color delivery here through the crease because I like these blown out looks with these types of shades, and that's what I'm trying to achieve here. And this is what I actually did on my short. I took a smaller brush, and why not? Let's use this DIOR brush. And I went over my thoughts about the brushes that came free with purchase since I'm a silver tier member now on DIOR.com because it's stiff, but it's great to pick up these baked shades. And what I do is take the purple and have an accent moment here on the lower lash line, kind of like winged out sort of, but so you have another serving of color, the main purple occurring on the inner corner, but now having a bit of fun on the outer lower lash line edge. And also the crayon from Chanel, which I showed before, the taupe shade. This was from their spring release. And where did it go? Mauve Chrome reminds me of this shade here. So it's like the stick version of the shadow. You could pair this together and I think it'll just be glorious, in my humble opinion. I'm just placing a little more of the gold here through the crease just to finish the edges. Yes. And if you want it, you could take a little bit of that same color. Even the light rose, you could have paired with the warmer rose on the very edge of the center of the lash line to create more of like that highlight effect. All right, it's time to apply these lashes and I'll be right back. And here we have the second demo using 239 Boutouns Baroque or Baroque, however you want to pronounce it. I love these. I do. I know they are not groundbreaking in terms of the color. What kind of pulled me in was the looks, right? The fact that these are limited edition and each pan shade again displays a Chanel motif found in the fashion house. I love that stuff. I'm such a nerd for that stuff. And although I'm not a luxury beauty expert, I can recognize a good beauty experience, and this is what I have with these Chanel palettes. And again, what I absolutely adore is the ease of application and how quickly I was able to achieve looks that I think are quite fun and have, again, nice sparkle. The colors are there just enough, and again, that soft delivery, which I think aligns with the French beauty aesthetic, or well, Chanel is a French brand, I believe, but these palettes were made in Italy, so there you go. It really depends on what your preferences are in terms of eyeshadow and overall makeup looks. If you like them to be softer and have shadows that can deliver nice textures and finishes without the hassle, I just think it's extraordinary. And you can let me know down below if you have the Boutouns quads and how this formula compares to other Chanel quad formulas, earlier ones that were released years ago, recently released from their spring collection that I swatched in store. And I mentioned in the video that I wasn't impressed with those swatches, right? I don't know if it was that particular quad or they changed something with these limited edition ones. Whatever the case is, I'm happy with these two. I will not be purchasing the other two because I don't think they'll have the same impact as 219 and 239 do on my skin tone and just for my own preference for shadow. If I had to pick a favorite, for sure, I'm a sucker for these shades, okay? And for them to give me those smoky, hazy eyes is beautifully delivered with the Oud blush, no less. And I can't even imagine how beautiful this will look with the violet soft filter blush from Dior. Stop it right now. Or Daydream, actually. Daydream, the Attic lipstick from Dior, also would have been a nice pairing. Bold Black, I think, worked well also, but let me know what you think down below. If you had your eye on these and you're like, they're pretty but not worth $86, I completely understand. And again, although I don't buy Chanel often, I am familiar with their pricing and know that their quads are higher on the tier when it comes to that, and I didn't mind splurging a little bit on these because again, they are limited edition. I love the motifs on the baked shades, although they're disappearing the more I use them, but I'm happy I grabbed footage from how they looked fresh out the box so you could take a look at that as well. But let me know down below if you have any of the 4 quads, what you think about them. Have you used them? I'd love to know your thoughts down below. And if you made it this far, please like this video by clicking the thumbs up. It helps me tremendously in letting the YouTube algorithm know that I'm worth watching, and will also recommend my videos to other beauty enthusiasts like yourself to watch. And consider subscribing. Who knows, if I purchase something else from Chanel, I will for sure share it on here and you'll know when that upload drops, especially when you click that notification bell. And if you're a returning subscriber, I appreciate you. And if you are new, both groups, stay, peruse some more. Maybe I'll see you in this video here. I'll definitely see you down in the comments for this one, and on here again next time.